Celebrations in the streets. Illinois has a budget. Well, not exactly, because as you mentioned, there is a 32% income tax increase effective immediately. There are, according to Senate President John Cullerton, $3 billion in cuts that are cooked into this budget. So he doesn't understand what the governor's talking about as far as whether or not this is balanced or not. However, still a few more boulders in the roadway coming forward, namely the first big one, a $251 billion unfunded pension liability, as well as a school funding formula that is a little more fair and might be able to get some of these schools actually opened on time in the fall. One of the issues is the Chicago public school system, which has been underfunded. While money is now flowing, the formula still doesn't get them where they need to be to continue operations at their current target rate.
So this budget is going to raise taxes, cut spending, and what happened yesterday in Springfield was there a disgruntled citizen who was showing their displeasure?
Seems like it, yeah. A person was arrested for throwing some kind of substance around the second floor of the Capitol building. This happened, the vote was, the House vote to overturn the governor's vetoes was supposed to happen around 1:30, and all of a sudden at about 1:25 is when the Capitol building in Springfield was put on lockdown. The hazmat team was called in, lots of fire trucks, lots of police vehicles, people in hazmat uniforms went into the building, went up to the governor's office, took some samples, cleaned it up. It took about an hour and a half to 2 hours before they were allowed to let the House back into session and the votes could begin. The debate began, and then the votes began. But, yeah, a person was taken into custody, a woman taken into custody.
Ryan Burrow, the rating agencies threatened to downgrade the credit risk to junk. And that was the impetus for this deal. Now the credit agencies still aren't ready to sort of fix the problem. What's going on here?
Yeah, it's been kind of an interesting relationship between the Illinois lawmakers and these credit ratings agencies, because they said, look, if you don't have a deal done by July 1st, which is the budget deadline, we're going to downgrade you, and we'll downgrade you to junk status. And no other state in the union has ever been downgraded that low. That would mean that our credit here in Illinois would start to dry up, as well as the interest rates would skyrocket about 1%, which would cost an enormous amount to pay down. So the 4th of July holiday falling on a Tuesday actually kind of helped out because nothing got done. It was a shortened trading day on Monday. Right. No credit downgrade that day, and apparently some assurances from lawmakers that a deal would get done. They worked all day on Tuesday, came back on Wednesday. They didn't have enough people to come back and vote in the House. So the credit agencies essentially gave the House till Thursday. The deal was approved, and even Moody's today saying, look, you still have $251 billion in unfunded pension liabilities. This doesn't necessarily mean you're off the hook. So we'll see if there's any kind of downgrade in the future here, but it looks, at least as of now, that things are kind of status quo, and some of the agencies like Fitch's and S&P Global will kind of sit tight before making any kind of downgrade decisions.
Ryan Burrow, what are people saying in talk radio? What are people saying on the streets?
Well, this is it's effective immediately, which means that 32% income tax increase begins July 1st, retroactive July 1st, and when we all start filing our taxes, we'll see that right away. It'll amount to about $600 extra for a family that makes $50,000 a year, about $650 on a family that makes $75,000 a year. So that'll not make people happy. I guess the good news is from the state level and from players level, Mega Millions and Powerball jackpot drawings are back. Ticket sales began. Remember,
but I mean, is
there selling tickets?
Is there a feeling like, well, we didn't like it, but there was no other option? Was it, I'm going to throw all the bums out? I mean, what is there?
I guess this will be determined come election time, right? Yeah. I mean, Governor Rauner, some see as being the hero and trying to fight against this tax increase and fighting against Mike Madigan, who's been in that leadership spot for 30-plus years, and many believe he's the reason that the state is in this mess to begin with.
Right.
In the meantime, many people think that Rauner's been an obstructionist, and he's the reason why it took took 2 years to pass this thing. So, it depends on who you talk to and who you ask, but this state is by no means in good financial shape even at this point.
Who would have thought that the Cubs would have won a World Series before Illinois passed the budget?
It took some time, didn't it?
Ryan Burrow, ABC News correspondent. Thanks, Ryan.